The SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bird Dog Shorts. Dominate summer with an amazing pair of shorts and a free Yeti-style tumbler when you order over at birddogs.com/pool. That's birddogs.com/pool. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast. I am joined by my favorite co-host today, Justin Bruni. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well, sir. Doing well, sir. Appreciate the shout out there. Feel bad for your previous co-host, but that's no problem. You know, there is a pecking order and rankings to these things. I get it.
I've only actually had one other consistent co-host, and it was our other buddy over here, Andrew Robb, for like a month. So I think he would understand. King. I think he would understand because we only worked together for like a month before. Unfortunately, we had to part ways because I was going on Friday mornings. He's a weekday guy. That's not going to work for wife and kids, I know too. So, but today we're going to be doing some underdog drafts, and this is my favorite way. I've been gone for a week, kind of with work, and then I did a bachelor party. So this is my favorite way to break back into fantasy football is doing some underdog drafts. So
getting tapped in with that ADP.
So for those of us who don't know how this works, now it's the funnest part of the show. Now Justin is going to join a draft. We're going to try to get into the same draft room, and Justin's going to take a peek into a draft lobby. So, Justin, hold on. My hand is on the button. So,
all right,
you go ahead and take a look.
I'm going to hit it and see what we get here.
Okay.
Nope. Do not.
Okay.
Nope. Don't do it. Don't do it. It happens.
Save yourself.
I didn't.
Oh no.
It's okay. I will try as a pure fantasy endurance athlete to get both in there, but I do have to make a quick redeposit here. I wasn't doubling down on the deposit. I was thinking normally, hey, I get in these pretty quickly with Rob, so it's unfortunate. But all right, I'm gonna try again. We should be good on 1, 2, 3. Go ahead, jump in. There's 9 more to start. We should be fine. I'll try to keep one up on my screen here and one on my phone. Hey,
that's the worst.
You got to do what you got to do.
And more is on the line for these underdog Best Ball Mania drafts too, because they're $25. It's not like just a puppy just throwing money away.
Hey, I got 103 in this other one, so it's going to be tough to go over the top. Just a couple of extra picks there. So I'll be all right. We get by here. This is the home of real fantasy DGens on the SGPN network. So, we'll do 2 drafts. No problem. We got one more to start in ours. It looks like.
How else are you going to max a 150? Your 150 bet. How are you going to get your cactus without 150 drafts in? So I think it's great, right?
That's true. And Jamar Chase falls to me at 103 in that draft. So hey, you take it. I won't give the full commentary over there. Just couple of pictures while we're waiting for this one to
tell us about a couple
together here.
We'll double up. So looking up here, we're both so we're not getting very different perspectives in this draft, unfortunately. We're at the 110 and 111, me and you.
Looks
like. We'll get to snipe each other the entire draft though. That'll be fantastic.
Just like you did last time in the big board, you son of a gun. Who are I know you've still been doing these drafts though. Like who are some top guys that you're moving up the boards? Some ADP risers.
Ooh, I love Rashad White at about the RB 25. Player, working for Player Profiler, I'm obligated to only speak great, fantastic things about Rashad White. So, I have to start off with that. He's fantastic. I love Jerry Jeudy at about wide receiver, low end wide receiver 2 value. wide receiver 11 in fantasy points per game since week 7 last year. I expect the offense to be a lot better. Geno Smith and Jared Goff, automatic down there at the end of draft. I see. I only push back, Justin, on Jared Goff being a top 12 dynasty quarterback. That was my only pushback. I love him in redraft leagues.
No, he would be my big riser is Jared Goff. Like he's the guys that are ahead of him in ADP. Like I just have no problem having him leapfrog. You know, guys like Tua or Anthony Richardson. I have no problem with that. I'll be fine. They have a great offensive line. They're still going to pass the ball a lot. I just think it's a very good situation for him this year and even the next couple of years to come.
We'll see, you know, but maybe Detroit's won't be in position to replace Jared Goff if they have the high draft capital that we expect over the next couple of years as well. So,
I mean, the team looks good. I mean, I think they're going to compete in that division a little bit more favorably with Aaron Rodgers gone. No dissimilar from my Chicago Bears, and they got to make a move or two on defense. That's a fact. But I think they have a team that can score, 24 points a game safely.
Answering your question just to finish off on that last position there, I'm curious about some of your favorite tight ends, but I'm looking at Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, and Trey McBride all at the back end of drafts. I think they could be target hogs in their offenses. They're all wide receivers on a lot of those teams, maybe a little shaky as well. So I think those guys are in position, especially Tyler Higbee, I think could put up another top 10 tight end season.
He was looking very good last year when Stafford was healthy. He was just looking his way. I think there's an obvious opportunity there behind Cooper Kupp, and Cam Akers. There's really no clear and obvious choice who should be, I don't know if you want to use the word dominating the ball, but getting the majority of touches behind those guys.
We are coming up here, and
it's a slow one. Yeah, it's taken a while.
Yeah, usually we're up by now, but we got obviously a lot of auto drafters.
They're running their clock for sure.
Yeah, looking up at the board here, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Bijan Robinson just went off the board, so I am looking at wide receivers: Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams.
For me, I'll be honest. I have a pretty automatic pick right here.
Is it? It's not Stephon Diggs, is what you're telling me?
That's not Stephon Diggs, no. If you want to go right ahead.
I'm going to go Stephon Diggs here because I think it's a good value to get him here, although I do have CeeDee Lamb higher in my rankings. Oh, there you go. I have CeeDee Lamb higher.
Pretty automatic for me.
I get that. I don't have too much of an argument. I actually have CeeDee Lamb ahead in my rankings for the year 2023. So I don't have any argument, but I'm trying to get a little different, and I like Stephon Diggs just at that ADP value there, and when we're doing a lot of drafts.
No, I hear you. He's definitely creeping up the top of my wide receiver board, but still not with a top 5 percentage rate. And again, just a call back to a lot of my previous drafts, starting off CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown, about as top of week 17 correlation as you can get for the receiver position.
I'm going to go with a guy, though, and make up for what I just did. I have Devontae Adams ahead of all those players. So I'm really excited to get him at the pick 15 here. I still think we get one more fantastic season of Devontae Adams. Walk me through your 2 picks, though. Yeah, Nick Chubb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You obviously think Nick Chubb maybe went for line for one of his best seasons to date. Oh, no, that wasn't you. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I took Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so Amon-Ra St. Brown. I get it. He's especially with Jameson Williams missing first 6 games. You're setting yourself up for a nice little Jared Goff stack later in this draft as well, maybe.
Well, we'll see if you don't snipe him from me. I know how much you love him. This other draft, I started off Patrick Mahomes, Jamar Chase, and DK Metcalf. Yeah, Andrew, if you're still watching, I got sniped as the last person into one of these things, of course.
Andrew, and I even got the big board up for you right here. We're looking at it, although, you can tell my technical skills are not the greatest as I try to navigate my way around here.
Highlight, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Anyone that's significantly falling for you, whether it be early rounds, later rounds, you're just like, nah, I'm just not interested. Guys that you haven't drafted a lot of, whatever fits the mold here.
We talking later on in drafts? Or we talking about coming up?
Anywhere. It could be later. It could be early. Guys that you're just like, no, absolutely not touching them, staying away from that guy. And, it could be a more expensive take than another. Like, I know, Andrew Robb, he loves Jerome Ford. I honestly don't know a lot of people that dislike Jerome Ford. He doesn't cost a lot. He's in a good situation. But let's say like Mike Williams, oh, I think Quentin Johnston's going to take over. Are you still high on like Mike or any of these like middle type of scenarios? Maybe like the Seahawks got 3 really good receivers, anything like that?
Scrolling down the board here, Devontae Smith, somebody that I'm a no-go on, just at that price tag, trying to maintain top 13 wide receiver value with A.J. Brown there and Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts rushing the ball. It's going to be a run-heavy offense still. That's a lot, I think, so I don't love that. Mark Andrews, I'm out on the tight end position this early. Breece Hall, I'm not betting on ACL injuries. The first year back, especially at running back, and then, lining him up here. Calvin Ridley, no way. 2-year layoff. I still think Christian Kirk could be the wide receiver one in this offense. Deebo Samuel, no way. I also think could struggle to get target volume behind, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. Is he even the best wide receiver on his team? Christian McCaffrey's going to be getting his. Before I kick it back to you, though, and we start drafting again, I just want to tell you, give a quick shout out to our friend over at Bird Dogs. Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look when you're out there trying to impress people on the beach. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way, way better. Bird Dog uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, particularly on the beach or wherever you may going. Exactly. So go to birddogs.com/pool and enter promo code POOL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/pool for a free Yeti style tumbler. You don't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you that. And, that'll probably be what I'm be shopping on after the show, because I notice all these cool, as I'm reading this, I'm reading all these cool little things that they got going on. So I guess I'll be knowing what I'll be shopping for tonight. Justin, luckily I didn't get auto picked while I was doing that. Oh, perfect.
Sorry, I'm watching 2 drafts, so I can't monitor any of your missed picks. I'm sorry. Speaking of Bird Dogs, who's your no sweat player of the year? Click it and forget it draft pick, and ADP just absolutely going to be a stud this year. It could be a top 10 player. I don't mind. Absolutely no sweat.
My absolutely no sweat player is James Conner at RB like 28, RB 27. The offense may be rough, but given his opportunity and workhorse role that he's going to have, that is a no sweat play at an RB3 price tag.
I like it. Mine is Deontay Johnson, just absolutely clean right now on ADP.
Very clean.
Being completely disregarded. His season receiving total is 825 yards, a number he's hit 3 years in a row. What I just don't get how we're seeing signs of regression for that offense. I only see signs of potential progression. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the only reason I guess they must be thinking that, George Pickens is going to be the alpha in this offense, which I don't see either. And George Pickens' ADP has finally fallen below Deontay Johnson's, which has not been the case for most of the summer. I went with Amari Cooper. I have 3 strong wide receivers out of the gate. You just went with Najee Harris. That was I almost picked Najee Harris. I think he could be in for a big year. Kind of falling in between his rookie and last year.
It's not that I don't like those receivers, and you had mentioned some of them like Ridley, Deebo. I like their situations, actually. It's just that I think that they're costly. Like, I think that they should be a little bit, farther back on the rankings and whatnot. Like Christian Watson, same thing. Like, I've been trying to push people off of him just because I feel like he's going to, regress significantly, from his performance last year. Oh, wow. Different strokes for different folks. Let's go with let's get weird. Let's get some Joey B in here.
Oh, see, I don't love Joe Burrow at that price tag just without the rushing ability. I'm just not sure what the absolute highest end outcome is, but I don't hate it. I'm stuck between. I'm just going to really shore up my wide receivers here. I'm going to take Jerry Jeudy, like I was talking about, one of my favorite players in here, and I have 4 strong wide receivers out of the gate. And that's what I like to do in these drafts because wide receiver dries up so quickly. And, so now I can focus on positional values when there's quarterbacks, tight ends, and running backs are falling that I like, instead of forcing, Zay Flowers, or, whoever, Rashad Bateman or somebody like that in the earlier rounds than I want to.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's fine. I want to get more of them. I actually don't have a ton of Joe Burrow. Him and Lamar Jackson are just guys that I'm trying to get a little bit more of. Like I only have, like I've done 82 drafts, or I'm sorry, now this is draft 83 and 84. Excuse me. I only have like 2 shares of Lamar Jackson because he has a high cost. Same thing with Joe Burrow. I think I only have about 4 shares. I'm just trying to get a little bit more exposure.
That makes sense. And, Lamar Jackson, I mean, especially an underdog, I get why the ADP is so high because, quarterback 1 is within his range of outcomes. He just has not paid off on that ADP now for 3 straight seasons.
Right.
Because of injuries and, the wide receiver. He's obviously getting his most talented wide receiver core that he's ever had. And new offensive coordinator as well, as this offense going to take a major shift. I tend to think it's still going to be a run-heavy offense. He's not going to reinvent the wheel for Lamar Jackson. And and that isn't going to help him because – but yeah, Lamar Jackson's not a high echelon passer. He's not one of the elite passers in the NFL. So that running game will need to be a strong part of the offense, I think. So certainly a lot of risk, but I understand, why his price tag is the way it is in these underdog drafts.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna try to get Jared Goff in this draft. A lot of times when I get Jared Goff, I'm pairing him with, like an Aaron Rodgers or a Matt Stafford. Like I'm not pairing him with a top QB. So if I can pull it off in this one, maybe I can get him a few spots after ADP. And it always helps to kind of push, drafters in that direction by taking a quarterback off the board. You know who my lowest exposure quarterback is right now, Emerson? Other than someone who's at a 0, like I haven't drafted any Kyle Trask. I don't think you'd be able to guess this in 100 guesses.
Is it somebody near and dear to my heart?
No, I don't think they are.
Is it not? It's not. Okay. I thought you were giving me a Patrick Mahomes. Why you have not been taking Patrick Mahomes, and I was not going to have that on this podcast. But
I took Patrick Mahomes in my last one. That was
perfect.
Before this last one, I had $250. So what is that? 4, 8, 10 shares.
Is he a quarterback 1, 2, or 3?
I have him coming off at about 2 after Jalen Hurts just because of rushing touchdowns.
Oh, you haven't? It's Josh Allen.
No. Me personally, if I'm drafting, I go Hurts, Mahomes, Allen. The only reason I have Hurts an inkling ahead of Mahomes is that you get more points for rushing touchdowns. I think they'll probably be pretty close, but that scoring and that rushing upside it's hard to deny yourself that if you're going to take the first quarterback off the board.
So
I have Mahomes more shares. I have more shares of Mahomes than I do Hurts.
And which of those was one of those guys the guy that you have your lowest exposure to?
No, it's Justin Fields.
Oh, Justin Fields. Okay.
Just one share. Just one share.
Why? I feel like that has to be like you're actually thinking you're like scared to hope. I feel like
I think it's just a lot to ask to win $3 million and your favorite quarterback is the QB1. I think I'm being
so the
selfish.
logic is not many things. So you're playing fantasy analyst from like not many things. Good things can happen to me as a person. So there's no way. Yeah. Therefore, I can't have Justin Fields.
Murphy's Law just isn't that positive with me. I'm sorry.
That's the best way to do fantasy analyst. Like, there's no way I can have this many good things in my life. So therefore, I can't take Justin Fields.
I'm sure I'll get some more of them. I'm hoping that he'll fall down the board a little bit. I mean, he's like quarterback 5 or something. That's a bit expensive.
Oh man, this is Mike D. Don't do it to me, please, Mike D. He's gonna do this. He's gonna get auto drafted. No, darn it.
Throw a bunch. I thought you said plus the Bears don't throw a punch. Don't know how to throw a punch.
Come on. Is he gonna take Kenneth Walker? Is it loading? Oh, perfect. Okay. I was hoping Joe Mixon would come back to me, but I am taking Kenneth Walker. Come on, 5'10", 58 people. This is crazy. It's Zach Sharp.
Damn.
Kenneth Walker is way better than Zach Charbonnet.
I'm on the clock in 2 leagues or 2 drafts.
Michael Pittman, nice. You got a little bit of a break. I'll let you know when you're up.
No, man, this has got
to be an auto pick coming for you coming up, right?
What's that, me?
Yeah.
I just made Michael Pittman pick.
I know, but you got another one. Like this next one ought to be automatic.
Oh, sorry. I'm in the corner on both drafts, so.
God, you not even think about this one.
No, I'm staring at it. We're at pick 62.
Oh.
Interesting.
The anticipation is killing me. We have Aaron Jones at the top here. Marquise Brown, Miles Sanders, Jackson Smith, and Najigba. Oh, Marquise Brown. What was Deontay Johnson on the board? You took Marquise Brown over your boy Deontay Johnson.
Diversifying the shares, my friend.
All right, that's fair. I'm pretty excited about this is why I overdraft wide receivers early, is because you can get guys like Kenneth Walker and Aaron Jones in the late fifth and sixth round, guys who could potentially be top 12 running backs with their workload. Very excited about that.
I wouldn't have minded Aaron Jones there, but same bye week as Najee Harris. Just not trying to load up on my first 2 running backs with the same bye week.
I'd never look at bye weeks, and I just hope it works out well for me.
I did a lot of drafting when we had no bye weeks, and I did okay there, but there are some spots where I'm exposed to a little bit of risk, and now that I have bye weeks, I don't have to worry about that. I can plan around it, and again, as someone who's drafting, well over 100 teams this year, praying I can get to 150, got to be different.
All right, and before I feel like this is a good time since we're so far away. This is a great time to tell you that we are also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania 4 is here, which is what we're doing right now. And Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in prizes. Underdog Pick'em is also a great way to get down on your favorite MLB and college baseball player props. So many ways to win over on Underdog and active in so many states. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. All right. And, if you happen to be listening still, if you wouldn't mind giving a like, subscribe, rating, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we really, really appreciate that. So we're coming around here. Andrew asking me for my league winners between rounds 14 through 18. He's asking me for them early, I guess. But I'll preview a couple now, and then I'm sure we will dive into rounds 14 and 18 here too. Right off the top of my head, who am I going with at the end of my drafts? I really like Trey McBride. I mentioned earlier the Arizona Cardinal tight end. I expect him to have a big year. I also really like Kenny Pickett. I love the weapons in the offense. If you're looking for that last quarterback, Kenny Pickett is a fantastic pick with one of those final ones. Running back values, Khalil Herbert at RB40 right now. I don't know if that falls into your round 14. Probably a little bit earlier, actually, but I really like Khalil Herbert there. Marvin Mims is a wide receiver, about 70 or so, is fantastic value. Wan'Dale Robinson, super deep in drafts. I like Isaiah Hodgins a lot. Just trying to think of some of these other ones here. There's another name that's on.
I definitely love some Isaiah Hodgins, but Khalil Herbert is not his love language.
No, he's a big Roschon Johnson guy, I'm guessing.
He is, and not
everyone's
a
big Roschon. That's why Khalil Herbert's such a great value, is because everybody is a Roschon Johnson guy. I love Roschon Johnson, but at this point, it's just like, he's everybody's guy. So I almost, these guys are classic guys who usually, I think, even though I really like Roschon Johnson, I think he could be the future in 2024. It's just like these guys get pushed up, I think, a little too high sometimes. Although,
yeah, I took Khalil Herbert as my 5th running back in a draft on, I believe it was on Father's Day. Nice little gift.
I just can't stop drafting Rachaad White. I just can't.
I actually just took Rachaad White in the other one.
Rachaad White, guys. I mean, this RB3 price tag is as if Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted another round 2 or round 3 running back. So Rachaad White, I think, is a fantastic value. Could, I think, be in line for 70 or 80 targets this season. So I have him as a strong RB2, more of a mid to high-end RB2. So you're getting him, I think, getting him as a tremendous value here. So what's your thoughts on Rachaad White?
I think he's just going to catch a lot of passes. I mean, didn't he catch over 50 last year as a rookie?
Yeah.
He's in a much better situation with Fournette gone. He's going to get more carries. It's a really good situation for him this upcoming season. There's a lot to like.
I really like setting my drafts up this way, actually. I have 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and now I can just kind of take those oh, gosh darn it. That's okay.
Poop.
I wanted Isaiah Pacheco because I haven't gotten many shares this offseason, but I'm absolutely fine taking one of my how could I not take my what did we call that pick? The bird dog pick. The bird dog pick. Is that
the
what
no
we
sweat
called
pick?
It? James Conner. I almost forgot to draft him. That would have been infuriating
if
I was talking about. I've done that too. I was talking about how excited I am for the pick, and I ended up getting autoed because I didn't pick it.
Damn.
But no, James Conner. Hell yes. I mean, he was one of the leaders in opportunity share last year. I believe running back top 7, 8 running back in fantasy points per game through the final 6 or 7 weeks of the season. Star through the fantasy playoffs. Even I think the offensive line gets a little too much hate. So I think he could be in for a very nice. I can't figure out how to throw up the big board here. I'm not very smart. Oh, there we go.
So you see that that dial there, that little box next to the X?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, click that.
This right here?
That little box next to the X.
Okay. But then it's like a separate screen now.
Now click the squares next to your name.
But now I can't. Now I can't click back over to the StreamYard.
Grid next to your name.
I need to figure this out off air. See,
I would pull it up on mine, but it's a completely different draft. People will have to look at my first draft.
I'll get better, people. You'll have to bear with me on the graphics. Hopefully, this gives you a nice close up of the players that we are taking very quickly, though.
For the Spotify listeners, I'll run through my team, and Emerson can update you on his. I have Joe Burrow, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Pittman, and Marquise Brown. It's a bit of a different build for me. Usually I'm doing, much more wide receiver heavy than balanced. Most typically not drafting a quarterback yet, but I don't hate it. I like it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have going into the 9th round will be our next pick. I have no quarterback, no tight end, but 4 running backs, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Rashad White, James Conner. I really like that start. And a wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy. I love this team, actually. I really, really like where this team's going. I feel very confident. I actually really like the values of quarterbacks and the tight ends in the later rounds as opposed to the running backs and wide receivers. So I really think this could be a money-winning team right here. I like it.
And this other one I actually just drafted the first time ever, Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine stack.
And we got Andrew ought to be hosting the show with us. My goodness, he's offering these
after
great.
ADP. I should get an award for that.
Andrew giving these great interview style questions in the chat here, and Andrew is the guy who I was talking about. We hosted together for a month. My other favorite co-host, Emerson, as our Chiefs insider, give us some insight as to what these Chiefs wide receivers. Will Tony finish as a wide receiver 1? Will Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, or MVS be the wide receiver 2? Whew, Jamie, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think as a Chiefs insider, I even have any clue what's going on here. I think that obviously, I think the Chiefs want it to be Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, I should say. I think Kadarius Toney is going to get the first crack at it. That's who they're talking up in camp. But, I mean, can we count on Kadarius Toney getting healthy? He never, I think one concerning part about Kadarius Toney is that he was never able to become a consistent part of the offense, just a regular part where he's running routes and Patrick Mahomes is reading and making a decision. Every single play was designed for Kadarius Toney. So in 3 months, that doesn't fit. You'd expect him to catch on to the playbook a little bit more. And, just the fact that kind of lines up with the guy who we've seen miss practice due to equipment issues. Maybe he doesn't have the want to that you might say. So Kadarius Toney, he's who I would take first, but also, I mean, it's hard to take him as more than a wide receiver 4. Sky Moore, another guy, looking at like the top 36 wide receivers last year, 29 of them had over 400 yards as a rookie, and 28 of the top 30. So, I mean, it's very rare that just if you were just not productive at all as a rookie for you to bounce back and be fantasy productive. So there's a lot working against these guys, but I think I'm just hoping it's one of them consistently as opposed to just everybody sporadically, random reeks. Justin, any thoughts on that?
I just grabbed Sky Moore in this other draft to stack with Patrick Mahomes, if that helps.
So is that your guy then?
No, I don't have a guy there other than Mr. Travis Kelce. That's my guy. I like Pacheco. I think he's got good value. I'm getting Kadarius Toney well after ADP if I'm going to be picking him up. I just did the same thing with Sky Moore. They're just not guys that I want to attack prior to that. That I really want to invest heavy in. if Rashee Rice comes around and he looks like a value at ADP, then maybe I will. But he's probably going to be like my 6th wide receiver drafted. Like, I think if he is 5 or higher, you might be exposing yourself to some risk per the game of ADP.
Fair enough. And that's kind of my lines of thought. I'm not too overly attached to any of these Kansas City wide receivers. I did almost take David Njoku too, but I thought Dak Prescott was a really good value. Who are you looking at with this next pick?
If you don't have a quarterback, for sure.
No quarterbacks.
You wouldn't want me to get him, would you?
I rolled with him naked there. I wouldn't have minded to get Deshaun Watson, but I didn't really line up. So maybe I'll be looking at maybe a little Jimmy stack super late, or maybe Russell Wilson coming up here in the mid rounds as well.
Mr. Garoppolo?
Maybe.
Mr. Jamie G?
I can get him with the last pick probably too.
You can. Him and Ryan Tannehill, Mr. Last Picks or last round, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy has to be a little better than that. I get where we're like, where's the upside? But I still think,
everyone's just scared right now because of the foot injury. They were talking about getting him cut the other day. I was like, what the hell is wrong with these people?
You see you're up?
Cut. I'm on the clock. I know.
Okay, all right. Just double check.
Yeah, I don't like first to get time to the trough.
All right. I know I'm dealing with a professional here, guys. Who
I'm literally on the clock in 2 drafts. I just off the clock, on the clock. I'll be all right.
Oh man, that's funny. Who do I want? Did I get no Seattle wide receiver? Did I draft DK Metcalf? No, I didn't. Crap. I don't know who I want here. I almost want to go like, you know what? I'm just going to roll it naked on Kirk Cousins. Maybe I'll get another stack with Kirk Cousins or something.
Defense. Kirk owner is pissed.
I'll try to
that
grab
guy's got him naked after he just drafted Dak.
I went Kirk Cousins, Dak, and I don't have anybody to even stack with him yet. So I'm going to try to maybe get some later round, maybe some stacking options here, but we'll see how things fall. I don't like to go. I don't like to you ruin the stack if you overdo it, or if you throw ADP out the window. It's kind of got to fall naturally. So I don't mind. Maybe not getting a stack in this draft. This will be my best player available draft, maybe, which is absolutely fine.
Speaking of stacks, earlier I mentioned I only have 1 share out of now 84 drafts of Justin Fields. Coincidentally, I've been stacking up the rest of the Bears on teams. Like I'll throw in DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney at ADP, and then Chase Claypool's been falling like a lot because of the news. Oh, he's not trying hard. Oh yeah, no one's trying hard in June. I don't know if you heard about it. It's hot outside. Get over it. And Cole Kmet. Like I feel like Cole Kmet's taken a little bit of a hit. I'm not someone that's been incredibly high on him. If you watch this show or any time that I'm talking about best ball, but value's there. You're getting more ground for sure.
I can't believe, I would be doing the opposite. So Justin Fields is actually somebody I don't mind does not stacking at all because of the rushing production. And I don't like getting a ton of Chicago wide receivers is what I like to avoid. Although I really like Cole Kmet. I think we could finally, that breakout that we were expecting last year, I think we might finally see it from Cole Kmet. Will you have any thoughts on Cole Kmet? Do you think, we're going to see that maybe top 12 tight end season this year?
It's tough for me to buy in on just because I think DJ Moore is going to come in, and vacuum up a large majority of the targets. But the way that offense was scheming up, plays last year, it feels like anybody could be, on the docket for a big splash play. And Fields being able to wheel outside of the pocket and create more space and time definitely boosts. I mean, in my opinion, everybody, not just Cole Kmet, but I think the offense is going to be a lot better this year. Our guy Davis Ping said it great on Twitter today. Bench players versus real starters in the NFL. Like it's a different roster from what it was last year. Even the offensive line is significantly better. Most of last year's starters are now backups.
I love Davis Ping. I've had him on the show a couple times. Good guy. He's a very savvy underdog drafter. We know what we need. We need to get you in that best ball mania.
About my Bears, so
there's a crazy best ball mania chat that I can't believe you're actually not a part of. It has like Dave Kluge in it, all these big dogs or whatever. But I need to send you an invite.
Yeah, you should. You'd just be like, hey, here's how many drafts Justin's done.
There's a lot of guys who flex in there about the amount of drafts they've done. There's a lot of guys. There's
the guys in 84.
I haven't heard this season. That's one of the highest numbers I've heard. There's one guy in there, and I think he goes by like Eagles on Twitter. I mean, he's absurd. He maxes out every single draft, and I promise you, he probably is higher than 84.
Damn.
He maxes out.
Pump these rookie numbers up. Pump these rookie numbers up.
He does. He maxes out every single underdog fantasy draft. I've never not seen.
I don't have that bankroll.
Maybe not the $100 ones. I don't know for sure, but like all the $25 ones and under, he maxes out. I know that for a fact. He's crazy. I'm
in the streets, so I'm out here. I'm in the lobbies. I'm in the drafts. Like, you got to know the name. You got to know JM Bruni. Sorry.
Do I want Michael Gallup? Is there like anything to even see here?
Just don't take Jared Goff. Just don't take.
I'm going to take
him,
Jared Goff. Otherwise, you're making me want to take him. You're honestly making me want to take him.
In all intents and purposes, the best ball Bible says that I should not take Jared Goff right here. So I'm going to try to follow the good book, and I'm going to hope that he comes back to me. There we go. We got some more Chig, and we'll see. This guy already has 2 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Aaron Rodgers. He has no connection to Detroit. There goes, is that Irv Smith? That was Irv Smith, like way ahead of ADP. That was great. And Rashee Rice, ahead of ADP. Thank you, sir. JP Money 777.
Thank you, sir.
You are a dog. A real man of Degen. Oh,
what about Darnell?
Here. Excuse me.
What about your guy Darnell Mooney?
I like him. I don't have anything against Darnell Mooney. I think he's in a good situation for this coming season. He's not going to have like that top type of defensive, coverage, or at least priority, I would say, from the defense. And he is a fast dude. He gets in and out of routes with a quickness. Someone to still like a lot in this type of offense that's going to try to build up a lot of speed.
Oh, what's your take, Andrew, popping over in the chat? I always appreciate his questions. What did I take myself? Oh, yeah, no, okay. I took Darnell Mooney. I like Darnell Mooney, but what's your take on Week 17 correlation? Also, do you ever draft with the regular season money in mind? Not really with the regular season money in mind, but I mean, it's hard to tell because all like these Week 17 stacks last year, like I remember us targeting the Rams. We got some of them right, but a lot of these Week 17 stacks we were going for last year, we were off on. And then randomly, you'll get these crazy games that are high scoring. Like, I forget, some of them come to mind last year, but for instance, 2 seasons ago, it was a random crazy Seattle-Detroit game in the Week 17 that, was insane. So we just are really bad at predicting, I guess is what I'm getting at, how these teams are going to look in the latter half of the season. So I don't mind doing a draft with a Week 17 stack in mind, grabbing a couple of them, but it's not something I'm like I have to have in every single draft I go to. And it's certainly not one of my top priorities, although I'll fall back onto it a little bit. What about you, Justin?
I mean, the one that I'm targeting the most is Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb. I also like going after Kansas City and Cincinnati. And I think those 4 teams and those 2 matchups are the most practical right now. It's midsummer a year before, like I feel like those are practical ones to get in on. I think my Bears take on the Denver Broncos, or no, they take on Atlanta Falcons, at home. That feels like a little bit of a tougher one. What was another one? I think Chargers and Carolina. Andrew, if you're still in the chat, you can always correct that. Andrew's got a really good sense on the Week 17s, but those 2 matchups that I mentioned specifically, those top 2 ones, right now, those are the ones I'm targeting the most. I feel like once we get some more landing spots for some of these running backs, maybe even DeAndre Hopkins, I think we'll start to feel a little bit better about just the totality of the offensive scheme around the league. I feel like we're going to have a clear idea of who we really favor to score points, later in the season.
Yeah, Seattle and Steelers. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I like that one a lot. I was telling you about how much I like Kenny Pickett's upside is kind of the quarterback 24 range, quarterback 25. I really like the offense around him. Mike Tomlin went out of his way to hype up Malik Willis in last year's first round draft and ended up throwing a curveball at everybody, taking Kenny Pickett. I imagine that was what he wanted to do the entire time. So Kenny Pickett, hidden dual threat ability too. I think the offense could be sneaky good. I really like that. I think that could be a high scoring affair. So that's a very interesting one, Andrew, and probably one that not a lot of people are actively targeting. So I like that. And yeah, I think you can almost target any if week 17 is like what you want to like, that's your goal. You want to walk in with week 17 stack. I really think almost you could stack any game because of how bad we are predicting. I mean, even some matchups that aren't as sexy. You never know what's going to happen in 1 week. So that's for me at least. So not my favorite strategy. Just like a lot. I always kind of deviate toward my guys. You know what I mean? And I'll switch it up a little bit. Based on other things, but I always go with what I feel about the player is usually my biggest driver, and my whether I'm drafting somebody or not.
Yeah, you mentioned Texans and Titans sneaky. Texans are always in my wheelhouse. They're just all going at good value. At least even the guys that you want, like Nico Collins, Dameon Pierce, Devin Singletary. As I say that, I draft Devin Singletary in this other draft. Or I'm sorry, no, in this draft. I'm getting him confused.
Devin Singletary, that's a good pick. I think he could fall in the end zone a couple times for sure.
I have another one lined up here as well. I've mentioned him already. We'll see what happens with JP Money. JP Money, not so kind this go around. Sniping Jerome Ford. Ouch.
I think Jermichael Hasty could be a big part of this backfield still. So I'm not really just ready to hand the backup role over to Jerome Ford. Although, at the early down
Michael
role,
Hasty,
it probably is expected to be Jerome Ford, I imagine. But I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on there.
Oh, correlation. Nico Collins, Devin Singletary, back to back. Didn't mean to make it happen, but it happened.
Grabbing some of those, that Houston, I like it. So I'm looking here. Juwan Johnson, he has a strong stretch of touchdown production. I just don't love it. I guess I'll grab a share. I don't have much Juwan Johnson, so I'll grab it here. But I don't love I primarily, got a decent contract. That's what I kind of like. But it's just he had a strong stretch of touchdown production. We know that's a little volatile. New quarterback. I just think there's a lot of changes here. Derek Carr might not have that same, rapport with Juwan Johnson. So a lot working against him. Not my favorite player, but at tight end 19, you could probably do worse, right?
I agree. Yeah, I took him as my second tight end in this other draft. So we're on similar paths here a little bit. I just think that they're going to be in the red zone more, and I think if there's any missing time for Alvin Kamara, while I am going to be in trouble with my Alvin Kamara shares, I think it opens up a lot more of the playbook. And we've seen Derek Carr before when he gets down in the red zone. Like a lot of quarterbacks, he likes those big body targets. He goes to the big guys. They also added Foster Moreau, and they still have Taysom Hill, who I think are just more of concerns for me. That's really it. It's not so much any type of rapport or lack thereof communication with him and Derek Carr. I just think it's a crowded room.
Yeah, crowded room. Derek Carr, not a guy who's thrown a lot of touchdown passes in recent years. So I feel like we know what we're getting from Derek Carr at this point. So just how many targets are going to be available after Chris Olave, especially if Michael Thomas remains healthy.
Yeah, Andrew, I just don't like to buy into like the anti-turnaround, like Tannehill going to Tennessee, Jared Goff going to Chicago, or I'm sorry, to Detroit. Like we've seen a lot of turnarounds, new faces and new places. So
yeah, I feel like you can definitely draw on some guys who did it well, but there's also a lot of guys who the transition is a little too much. These guys are real people, so moving to a different city, moving coaching staffs, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that I'm sure that we don't get to see too. Oh, Andrew asking a question. What's my tight end strategy been? Taking an elite tight end, grabbing 3 late? It's usually Travis Kelce or grabbing 3 late. I don't like the value of every single top tight end, actually, outside of Travis Kelce. I usually avoid most of them unless I'm trying to complete a stack with Jalen Hurts or something like that, or maybe Deshaun Watson with David Njoku, Evan Ingram with Trevor Lawrence. Unless I'm seeking out a stack, I don't grab any of those guys. I usually wait until right about now, and it's been hit and miss in drafts. Sometimes I feel like I wait too late, but Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet is a little bit earlier one. Those guys are guys that I really like to target a little bit in the later rounds. I grab some Chigakonkwo. I think he's some guy I'm a little bit nervous about at his ADP right now, just considering his build and, just had a couple, just a here and there in production wise as a rookie. So usually grabbing 3 late, and Tyler, like I was saying early, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, Trey McBride, Michael Mayer, all those guys in the tight end 20s, I think are pretty good value.
Any love for last round tight ends? Maybe Jelani Woods, a Jake Ferguson, Luke Musgrave.
I think it's pretty dried up by then. I mean, you might get 1 or 2 games out of those guys a year, but Jelani Woods is a little bit interesting. But if Anthony Richardson's going to be the guy there, I mean, how many targets is he going to get? I mean, he's going to fall in the end zone a couple times, maybe. So, really, Trey McBride, when I'm looking at the board here, is about like my kind of cliff dive. Because after that, Luke Musgrave, Isaiah Likely, maybe if Mark Andrews were to miss time. But I mean, you have Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr. now there, healthy Rashad Bateman. That does not that appealing. Jake Ferguson got, overdrafted by a guy, second round draft capital this year. No fan, nah. There's just, I usually about Trey McBride's about my big cutoff area.
What about Logan Thomas? He's been getting some friendly talk recently.
Yeah, has he? I haven't even really heard about that.
Just saying that they're gonna use all the tight ends. I mean, it's good for Logan Thomas. He's in that group. I mean, you can't just rely on Jesse Bates and Cole Turner.
I mean, for what I remember, I think Logan Thomas was good when he was on the field last year. He's kind of fallen by the wayside. He's older now. I just don't know how much upside's there with a very good wide receiver room there. So not sure. Andrew's asking about Chig. I like Chig. I don't love him at tight end 13 sometimes where I see him go in these underdog drafts. It's a little bit much. He's a very small tight end. That 6'2", 240-pound build. It's kind of like in that Evan Ingram mold. Those guys have been very hit and miss kind of over the years. So I'm a little trepidatious about it, I guess you might say. All right. Let me think about my pick here because I'm going to pick a tight end. I'm going to go Dawson Knox. Hope he maybe falls in the end a couple times. I know people are all over the new tight end, but Dawson Knox is still on the team, got a big contract. So don't mind taking Dawson Knox there. And dang, he's my tight end. I love
Dawson Knox at value. He was mentioning Chig. I mean, I'm more on pace with Andrew. Like he has him at tight end 10. I have him, I think, 1 or 2 spots after that. I'm feeling pretty good about him.
I mean, he's not going to be asked to block at all. You're going to have to almost take him off the field for that. Maybe he splits out.
Who's going to be their secondary receiver? Like, is it really going to be Kyle Phillips?
I mean, that you're banking, this is I feel like this is a storyline we get fed a lot during the offseason, a tight end or a running back playing in the slot. And it's very hard for these guys to do that, especially a young tight end like Chikakonkwo here. If he does get that role, maybe there's some upside, but not a lot of passing touchdowns probably coming in this offense. So maybe not a very good offense in general, smaller tight end, maybe a limited role. I think there's more risk to Chig than I think a lot of people are talking about right now.
Second highest tight end exposed to. No big deal.
Like I said, I see the upside. I just at tight end 13, I would prefer somebody like a Tyler Higbee or somebody like that ahead of him. But find out. Kind of messing up this draft. I really don't like where I've gone here with these last few, but my tight end room, I guess, is the only thing I don't like very much, but I'll get over it. Did you get auto pick there?
No, it took Jeff Wilson. You made it?
Okay. Who do I want?
After you make your pick, I'll go through my team really quick. Get a quick update. Coming down the barrel here.
I'll take Chuba Hubbard here, maybe getting a little bit of maybe a couple spike weeks because Miles Sanders should be getting a lot of work. So maybe Miles Sanders misses a couple weeks. Maybe I get some Chuba Hubbard spike weeks.
So I have Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, Devin Singletary, Jeff Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Pittman, Marquise Brown, Allen Lazard, Nico Collins. Oh, David Njoku, Chikozma Conwo, and Tyler Conklin. Probably shouldn't forget about the tight ends.
Can't forget about the tight ends. I have Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins at quarterback. At running back, I have Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Rashad White, James Conner, and Chuba Hubbard. At wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Gallup, and Darnell Mooney. And at tight end, I have my 3 guys, Gerald Everett, Jawan Johnson, and Dawson Knox.
Well, I don't know what's not to like. It's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I just once again, I just wish I would have gone. This is what happens usually. I go tight end late and I try to stretch it a little too far. I wish I would have gotten one more, maybe. Wish I would have maybe reached a little bit on a Tyler Higbee or a Cole Kmet and
Mhm.
gotten one better tight end is what I would have liked it in this draft if I could have done something differently. And that's I do that a lot in my drafts. I try to wait on quarterback or tight end until the last second in some of my drafts, and sometimes it pays off for me, sometimes it doesn't.
Just got to get those range of outcomes of guys that can hit
Yeah,
the top 12s.
absolutely. And I think I got a couple
There's
of those guys.
yeah, there's definitely always some names that are falling or some names that are back there, so no worries. If I did anything different, I would, draft less week 7 bye players because I backed up the later rounds with them, but all
Oh,
good.
you can recover from a week 7 by
I
apocalypse.
can, I can.
Well, I'll be
I
fine.
know, just too hard on myself, just too hard on myself.
But yeah, this is definitely one of my this is definitely a good draft. I don't have a
Yeah,
lot of strong stacks, but I feel like my players are very good. So sometimes I'm fine with that. You don't have to have a stack if that's not how the board dictated one draft.
mhm.
Just getting very very good players that's proved to be productive for underdog players in the past too. So
Yeah, most of my players are after ADP other than Joe Burrow. Um,
yeah,
oh, and I
another
took
great way
Tyler
to do it.
Conklin early too, but I was just getting my third tight end. I didn't trust Njoku or Conwell by themselves.
As you should. Tyler Conklin, guy looks like a freaking Viking out there on the field. Fun guy. So I like that pick there. Could be the leader for the New York Jets at tight end this season. Yeah, we are
I mean, he
wrapping
looked
up with
damn
our
good with
final
Joe
picks.
Flacco, so I'm hoping some of that old man vibes rolls in with Aaron Rodgers, and that works out because yeah, he looked great with Flacco. I mean, a couple of guys did. Garrett Wilson looked pretty good with him too.
Yeah, so maybe we see a little bit of Robert Tanyan. Maybe we think maybe a little Aaron Rodgers, Robert Tanyan action from a couple years ago.
I mean, that would be the hope, right? I mean, I think you really just want him to have the opportunity to get double-digit touchdowns. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think Garrett Wilson, I like him to go over 8.5, and I mean, I even dare so take him to go over 9.5. So, I mean, I think that would be a tough ask to have two pass catchers in that offense that would have double-digit touchdowns. But I don't rule it out of the realm of possibilities. That's for sure.
We are coming up on our selections here. So on the top of the board, Kenneth Gainwell, Hunter Renfro, Khalil Shakir, Gus Edwards, Leonard Fournette, Sam Howell, Josh Downs, Mac Jones, Tim Patrick, Nathaniel Dell. Any of those guys stand out to you?
That's a pretty sharp room, to be honest with you. Leaving a lot of the dead weight behind. I like Gus Edwards just because I feel like he's just always going to have a role in that offense with the Ravens. I feel like he's going to be able to potentially touch the ball, maybe 10 times a game. Doesn't sound crazy, or crazy good, I should say. But I think he's going to have a reliable role there. And I think people are, kind of underplaying or downplaying how often this team will still run the ball. Like, I still think that's going to be a big focus of what they want to do. Everyone's saying they're going to somehow be a pass dominant team. I just don't see that happening. I think you've echoed similar agreeances.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to shift totally what Lamar Jackson's good at. That's not his, sitting back and passing 50 times a game. That's maybe never what Lamar Jackson's going to be good at. So I don't think, I think you're just going to hope, maybe a little bit more pass oriented. Maybe you're taking a little bit more off J.K. Dobbins. But yeah, I don't see this shifting to they're not going to be in the top 20 in the league in pass attempts, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
and there you go.
unless the
Back it up.
offense is just amazing.
Give me some Gus Edwards.
Somebody who they've been talking about a ton here that I'm going to get with my final pick. Let's take Terrace Marshall. Carolina Panthers just don't want to let this guy die in the news. They keep bringing him up, keep telling us about how good he is. Yeah, I'm willing to take the chance there with my final pick, wide receiver 91. He's ranked. I mean, he could be the wide receiver one in this offense. I'm not ready to give it to DJ Shark or Jonathan Mingo or Adam Thielen. I think, Terrace Marshall has almost as good a chance as anybody.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not a deep group, we'll say. I do think that Mingo has a really good shot, based on his draft capital. Obviously, they spent a fair amount on him. I think they're going to look to get him on the field early and try to keep him there. But, I think Terrace Marshall brings a pretty good fight.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's our final picks. What are your final thoughts? Anything you learn anything, or any strategies that people you're going to be taking into your best ball drafts this summer?
Don't draft two teams at once. It makes it harder.
It
No,
does.
try to stack, guys. Try to correlate. You know how I do. Normally, I like to go, receiver early. This is more of a balanced approach. I went 2, 6, 7, 3. A lot of times I'm going, 2, 5, 9, 2. I mean, I get weird with it. So trying to get all sorts of different approaches here. Go through my team really quick. I had Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, Devin Singletary, Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards with my last pick. Receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Pittman, Marquise Brown, Alan Lazard, Nico Collins, Hunter Renfro, David Njoku, Akonwo, and Tyler Conklin.
Very, very nice. Yeah,
I've drafted better teams, but I've also drafted worse teams.
My big takeaway, I think you kind of got to do multiple drafts to get in the rhythm is what I always tell people.
Yeah.
You got best player available. I'm always, in my redraft, my dynasty leagues particular, I'm always a best player available kind of guy. However, you kind of have to play the board in underdog drafts because these drafters are sharp. They kind of change, the drafters themselves change the board a lot in this. So yes, wide receivers go early. You have to adjust to that, in my opinion. Even though it kind of, you have to, it doesn't feel that great taking Chris Olave maybe over Jonathan Taylor in the second round or something like that. You're going to make up for it later on because you're going to be taking James Conner instead of Zay Flowers. You're going to be taking Rashad White instead of Rashad Bateman. You're going to be making up a lot of that value, I think, later on. So I don't mind forgoing that a little bit on to take my wide receivers early. So
yeah,
I think that's good advice.
And again, keep doing those warm-up drafts because I do think that can change. I do think that the closer that we get to week one, the deeper we get into the summer, I do feel a shift kind of coming where that's going to balance out a little bit more. And you may see more people take some of those higher priority running backs also just because you're going to get more casuals involved. Like right now, all of us fantasy D-gens that just, have our blood itching, ready for football. We're in the streets. We're in the best ball lobbies. We're taking them down, getting our ADP steals and cashing in hopefully on our off-season takes. You're going to have a huge portion of the public and the casual fans starting to get involved, probably closer to, the start of next month and the end of July. So definitely something to look out for as we continuously, hit off-season check marks and thresholds and, gradually get to this 2023 season.
We're getting closer every day. All right,
Yes,
Justin, my friend, thank you for joining me today. What's going on at SGPN this week, brother?
Me and Andrew will be back tomorrow night. We'll be talking some risers and fallers, high exposure fallers, low exposure risers. Which guys are flipping the script?
I love it. I'll be dropping my rankings articles, my dynasty rankings articles for SGPN coming out these next couple weeks. I'll have quarterback, running back, and wide receiver coming up. And then I also have some stuff coming out for Player Profiler. I produce the Dominator for Billy Muzio and Player Profiler today for Jack Kavanaugh. So be sure to check those guys out as well. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and have a great rest of your Monday night. Thanks so much.